Well, good afternoon, everybody. Excited about our win on Saturday. Looking back at the film and discussing with our coaches and players a couple of key things. We were able to rush the football and stop the run from KU, and that was obviously really critical to win that. And then that carried over in the time of possession, and to be able to hold the football for 38 minutes and to their 22 with a prolific offense really helped us. And then the third downs, for us to be able to convert, I think we were maybe 11 of 17 and they were 2 of 10. I think, kind of all translates back to that time of possession, and really happy for the seniors, happy for the leaders of our team to go in there and for a team that was playing exceptionally well to be able to shut them down offensively, and then to be able to chew up the clock and really rush the football was a big win for us. So got back to work on Monday on Texas, and we know we have a really great opponent going down to Texas. Will be a fun environment, but I know our guys are excited about the challenge, so we'll open it up.
You were picked ninth in the Big 12 in the preseason, and now in November you're in a fight for third place with Texas and Iowa State with 4 games to go. How would you describe this climb?
Well, I just think our guys are getting better as the weeks have gone on, and that's what we talked about even back in here when we were in September. Is we really believe the longer they're in these systems, offensively and defensively, our players, as well as our coaches, knowing our personnel, that we're going to continue to improve. And now it's just kind of the next game up, and it's another big game. There's no easy games, and so this one's going to be really difficult against Texas that's coming off an open week.
You've been K-State's historically been good in November. You personally have lost just twice in 5 years in the month of November at North Dakota State. How has it been your experience that good teams have that capacity to be able to ratchet up down the stretch of a season?
I think it's focus. I think it's great leadership by your players for starters, and obviously the coach is doing a really good job with their positions. But I really believe it's leadership. I do with the players and those guys. Especially with the younger players in long seasons, keeping them accountable, keeping them focused on the task at hand, and it's not easy to win games, period. And as you get late in the season, you get beat up a lot, and you hope that all those extra reps you've had with those younger guys are starting to pay off, because a lot of those guys are starting to get a chance to play now.
How much more impressive do you think the way you ran the ball at Kansas becomes, knowing that you weren't with Jordan and James in that game?
Well, it's a credit to the guys like Harry and even Tyler and Joe and Skyler that they were able to rise up and have really good games. You put more on the offensive line and tight ends and fullbacks to, hey, you guys really got to step it up, because we don't have 2 really good running backs now. We've said all along we have a stable of guys that we think are pretty capable, and not having those 2 guys that have had really good years for us. Obviously Jordan hasn't played as much, but James had an exceptional year, and everybody saw against Oklahoma how good Jordan can be when he's healthy. That I think it gives confidence to our offense in general that the schemes are good, and if you just keep staying the course and getting those reps, you're going to have an opportunity to make some plays. And I was really impressed with Harry. I thought he played well. And
you mentioned you really wanted to clean up some penalties after this one. How do you go about this week to get rid of those?
Well, the simple thing is some of the unsportsmanlike penalties we just can't have. I mean, those are things that I know it's the heat of the moment. I know it's a rivalry game. There was a lot of talk back and forth, and we just have to move on from those, and we have to be smarter because we don't want to lose field position, and we did that a couple of times. Holding penalties, I think some of those are technique things that we talked about, especially offensively, whether it's a wide receiver or an O-lineman, just keeping our hands inside, and it's an emphasis we need to put forth because we can't have as many penalties as we had.
Jonathan Durham is a guy that I don't think maybe gets a lot of the headlines, but does a ton for you guys. How important is he to what you guys are trying to accomplish on defense? Yeah,
Jonathan's been really big for us. He plays multiple positions. J-Mac's been our starter there, but JD plays an awful lot of snaps for us, plays a bunch of special teams for us. He's a senior. He's one of those leaders that you're always counting on. And he's playing really well. His snaps, last week I think he was probably around 25 or 30. When he and J-Mac both play and both can give each other a rest, I think they both benefit from it.
I know Skylar had 17 carries in the game. How much do you does context matter there, like whether or not he's taking a hit, if he's getting out of bounds, and that sort of thing?
Things we look at, absolutely. A number of those were designed runs, but there were several of them where you play man coverage, which is what KU did most of the game versus, and nobody's open. That's sometimes the thing that is open is the quarterback scramble, and I thought he did a really nice job of moving the chains and made a couple nice plays in the red zone to keep drives alive or to score. And no, we're really conscious of it because we don't want him to take those kind of extra shots if he can help it.
I was going to ask, too, I know the penalties were brought up a second ago, the unnecessary roughness penalty on Nick Kaltmeyer. Is that really the way that you would like him to finish a block, typically?
When I saw it, he didn't hear a whistle and he kept playing. And so I've seen a lot of that, and it's not called. But we'll visit with Nick, and maybe he could have done something differently. But, you still, I don't want to take aggressiveness out of a guy either.
Are you guys as a staff starting to have conversations with the freshmen kind of on that 4-game rule now that you're in the 4 to 5 games left on who's going to redshirt, who won't redshirt?
Yeah, there's
that?
some that we've already kind of made that determination that we are going to redshirt. There's still guys that have multiple games left that just based on injuries, will they be able to help us? And Joe Irvin was a great example last week. I think Joe may be right at 4 right now, and he had to play last week. I can't really say this week because we still are learning more about Jordan, learning more about James, of their availability. Jordan practiced a little bit yesterday. James was out there, didn't do as much, but they're hopeful that they can both do more today and tomorrow.
Does Tyler Burns, the way that he played, start to enter into that some
Absolutely.
too?
I was really excited for Tyler. Tyler's a really hard-nosed, physical football player that just needed an opportunity, and we talked about that in our team meeting as far as when you have an opportunity to make the most of it. And Tyler Burns definitely made the most of it. And so we have to find some situations where we can get him the football and get him in the game. He's really good in pass protection, runs between the tackles exceptionally well. The thing that I was so impressed with Tyler is he was one of our special teams players of the game. And so he's an unselfish guy and made some tackles on kickoff and punt and is playing really well. And I know that success that he had will give him some more confidence as a running back.
Chris, one week, K-State puts up its most total yards against an Oklahoma defense in 11 years. And the next week at Kansas, the offense racks up its most total yards against any Big 12 opponent since 2016. Do you feel like this offense is hitting stride just at the right time?
Well, yeah, I hope so. It's every opponent's different. Every scheme that we face is a little bit different. Now, I'm assuming people will put a few more guys in the box to try to slow down the run, and so hopefully some of that play action or some of our 5-step or quick game opens up. It just happened to be that I thought KU played some man coverage and played it a little bit softer, and we were able to hit some of those creases. Plus, I think Mess had a really good game plan of hitting some outside runs, some inside run, a lot of misdirection, a lot of what we would call our gap scheme stuff. And so, yeah, I hope we continue to improve, but each week's going to be different. Are we going to rush for 300-plus yards again? It's probably not likely. You'd like to, but it's just not likely. So we have to be able to really have some good balance and throw the football well.
Pro Football Focus gave 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen a spot on their team of the week.
Yeah.
How well is the offensive line playing, and how much do you think they have to do with the recent offensive success?
A big part of it, and credit to Coach Riley. We're playing 6 guys because Rivas is playing an awful lot for us now, so we're playing 6 guys, and all of them are able to spell each other. But they're playing together, and you hope a bunch of seniors would play together throughout the whole year. We just had a couple of weeks where we weren't all in sync, and part of that is a new system, new terminology, all that stuff. But as we've talked before, I know we're progressing and getting better. I see it every week in practice that we are getting better. But those guys take a lot of pride in being able to rush the football, and I think Riles is doing a phenomenal job with them.
Do you have any more clarity on A.J. Parker's status?
Yeah, A.J. did suffer high ankle / a fracture, so he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. I can't tell you how long. We're still trying to evaluate whether there's surgery or not. Hopefully I'll have a better indication of that maybe later on in the week, but I see him out for a significant amount of time.
Who do you lean on now to replace him?
Well, Kiwi's played an awful lot for us, and we've been in a three-man rotation there quite a bit. D-Pat has been the fourth, so D-Pat will move up to the third spot at our corner. And so between Kiwi and Walt and D-Pat, those guys will get more reps. Lance Robinson moves up a spot as well. And so it all depends on how they practice and what Coach Malone feels comfortable. But, we're fortunate that we've been able to play guys like Kiwi and D-Pat an awful lot this year.
And a little bit different question here, but seeing him celebrate the last win with a flip afterward piqued my interest. What has Mike McCoy meant to this team, and what's he been doing behind
Mike
the
has
scenes?
a lot of great energy, and I'm happy that he's a part of this. He's got a lot of great friends that are on the football team. It was unfortunate that his career was cut short due to injury, and that's never easy, but he has a role with our team, and does some things with Coach Bratt in the recruiting office, and is at practice, has great energy, helps some of those running backs, especially the young guys. So excited for Mike, especially a kid from Topeka goes over with us and celebrates the win. It was a lot of fun.
This defense, 3 interceptions in the last 2 games, and number 2 in America, and surrendering just 24% on third down conversions. How good has this defense been over this recent stretch?
The last 2 weeks we've played better on defense, even though Oklahoma was able to get what they got from a points standpoint as well as yards. Oklahoma's going to do that against a lot of teams. But I just think our guys are understanding more of our scheme, more of what Coach Hayes and the defensive staff are trying to implement. They're feeling more comfortable. It goes back to the same thing. Our practices are getting better on that side of the ball. We're not having to repeat as many things. The guys just are just learning the system better, and that's all you really can say is, we played a few games, had an off week, played a game, have a couple off weeks, and all those banked reps are starting to pay off.
How much has your offensive line progress just been steady, incremental, and just week-to-week progress?
Yeah, like we talked earlier, they're just playing at a high level, and they take a lot of pride in what their craft is, and give those guys credit, because there's great seniors in there with a lot of pride, and Coach Riles is doing a great job with them.
The way things worked out for James and Jordan, how beneficial can that be just to get them an extra week?
You hope, but we have to see how they're progressing this week. Can one of them play this week and give us another body? I don't know if both of them will or not. It's so early in the week, and we knew Jordan would have a chance to play. We didn't think James would, but we wanted to go through warm-ups and see, and James for sure was a no. And Jordan, I think, is closer than James, but we'll find out the next 2 days because they're padded days.
What do you see as the biggest challenges that you'll face with the Texas defense on that side of the ball?
They have great length on defense. They're really physical. They run to the ball really well. There's pressures coming from all over the place, and we'll have our hands full, making sure that we can protect Skyler. We have to be able to run the football some. Are they going to allow us to rush the football like we did last week? Probably not. So we have to find some ways to be creative and be efficient in the passing game.
In addition to the defense for Texas, Coach Herman announced yesterday that a lot of those injured players are going to be back. Caden Stearns sounds like he's going to be out there. How tough is it to prepare for a defense when a lot of those guys haven't been out there, but it's sounding like they're going to be back out there this week?
Yeah, we assumed with the open week that they were going to get a number of guys back. I haven't dug into how many guys and where they're all at. I haven't gotten that far within the game plan, but obviously the open week came in at a really good time for those guys to get a number of players back. Texas has really good football players across the board, and they have good depth, but it probably helps them because all that depth had to play, and now they get some starters back, and it just leads us to our hands are going to be full this week. We have to come up with great game plans, and we have to be able to execute at a high level, and it really starts with today's practice.
With Sam Ehlinger, is there any player that you guys have faced already that's at least he's somewhat similar to, or does what he does is so separate he's hard to prepare for?
Probably similar to Jalen. the design runs, there's just different schemes, but the fact that he can beat you running the football and he can beat you throwing the football. I think he's a terrific football player. I think he's a great competitor. He's a fun guy to watch when you're just scrolling it and watching it. When you have to prepare for him, it's not as much fun. But I think he's a dynamite football player and somebody that you can tell he's getting better and better and more confident.
Are you planning on hitting up the basketball game tonight?
We have practice and some later work. I hope to get over there for a half or so.
Hey, Chris, you talked about Skylar as a runner earlier. How have you seen him improve and evolve in the run game, whether that's deciding when to tuck and run, or just improvisational ability?
Yeah, I think just being more comfortable of when to tuck it and go when things break down. And plus, I think he's seeing things pre-snap so well that, okay, it's man coverage. If I can, if my read's not there, I can tuck it and go because there's probably not somebody there. And then I just thought Coach Mess and the offensive staff did a really good job designing the option that we ran a number of times on Saturday. But then give Skylar all the credit because he executed it as far as, tucking it and running for the big gain the one time, and then even on a 3rd and short, kind of cutting back and making a big play, and then pitching it at the right time a couple times. That's not easy to do, especially with us. We're not an option offense, so we don't practice that much more than a few handful of times a week. And I thought he did a great job of executing the play.
In this league, you've seen Mims and Wallace and Lamb. Where's Duvernay kind of in there, and what are some of the challenges that he presents for you defensively?
One, he's so good after the catch. Just his ability to make people miss, run through arm tackles, really physical player, lines up in the backfield even some, and they just put him all over the place and try to get him the football. I think he's one of the best we face, and in this league, there seems like there's a couple every week, and Texas is no different.
It's been back-to-back pretty emotional weeks. Is the aim to keep those emotions high or maybe not let the guys get too ahead of themselves?
Well, you only get 12 opportunities. You better keep the emotions high every chance you can. So that's the challenge we have every week is to make sure that we prepare each day, that come Saturday that the preparation's in place and the guys can cut it loose and have fun with their brothers. And I've been so pleased with our leadership. Credit to the captains and to the leadership of the football team that they're keeping the guys grounded, they're keeping them humble, they're keeping them hungry, and every week they have an opportunity if they prepare to be successful.